I'll read this. All right, so this is the beginning of the Here I Come chapter, very beginning. He's driving, and all of a sudden Dimitri says, the driver says, "Can I ask you something?" And he says, there's this Fenya lady, and she was a little hesitant in you going because you might go smash someone's head in and kill someone. And I'm a little worried that I'm taking you to a place where you're going to commit a murder. So I'm just a little uneasy about this. And then Dimitri says, "Are you a coachman?" "A coachman," he began frenziedly. And then Andre says, "A coachman?" And he says, "Then you know you have to make way. If you're a coachman, what do you do? Not make way for people? Just run them down? Look out, I'm coming. No, coachman, do not run them down. You must not run anyone down. You must not spoil people's lives. And if you have spoiled someone's life, punish yourself. If you've ever harmed someone's life, punish yourself and go away." And then Andre, the coachman, says, "That's right. One mustn't run a man down or torment him or any other creature. For every creature has been created, a horse, for example, because there's people that just barrel on regardless of us coachmen, let's say, and nothing holds them back. He just keeps pushing right on." And then Dimitri says, "To hell, even to hell? They push on to hell?" Then he says, "Do you think Dimitri Karamazov is pushing on, driving himself to hell?" And Andre says, "Well, it depends on you." But he gives this little story, and he says, "I think hell is for the mighty ones, the rulers, the great judges, the rich men. But you, Dimitri, you're not like that. You're not a great man or a ruler or a judge." He doesn't say that explicitly, but you're more like a child. We look at you, as he says, we look at you just like a little child. Though you get angry, that you do, sir, the Lord will forgive you for your simple heart." And then this is the thing that I want to spend some time talking about. Dimitri says, and will you forgive me? And the coachman's startled by this because he says, "You've never done anything wrong to me. Why do I need to forgive you?" And he says, No. I don't necessarily mean just you forgive me, but like on behalf of everyone. Can you forgive me? Can you forgive me on behalf of everyone? And that's like a really strange thing to say. It seems like you can only forgive someone for the harms that they've done to you, right? So like I can't forgive someone for something that hasn't been done to me. And I think what Dimitri is suggesting here is actually something very similar and akin to what you saw in Zosima. The similarities between Dimitri and Zosima, I think, are great. Do you remember what Zosima was in his earlier life before he was a monk? He was a soldier. He was like a lieutenant, and he fought a duel. Do you know who else fought a duel? Dimitri. Right, I think I brought this up, but right at the very introduction of Dimitri, if you go way back to like page 2, it says he fought a duel and he won, which means what about Dimitri? He killed a man, right? It's just in passing, it sort of doesn't mean much. The concept of a duel here is a really significant reoccurring theme throughout the whole book. But Dimitri and Zosima are very, very, very similar people. And they're both greatly offended because the person they love turns out to have loved someone else completely behind their back, right? Remember Zosima, why was he going to fight the duel? Because he was greatly offended that this other person was this other man was the person that Zosima loved, and they were getting married, and he didn't quite know that. Go back to the mysterious visitor, exact same situation, and you can even throw the mysterious visitor up here. But all these people come to the same realization, and I think this is as if it already happened. Here, you're kind of getting at as it's taking place. What does it look like to come to a spiritual insight? What does it mean to really have a real moral change, a real conversion from the way of pride to the way of humility, from the way of selfishness to the way of love? What does that look like? And I think it's taking place in the person of Dimitri, and that's had in kind of seeing the similarities of this. You kind of love Zosima, right? Everyone kind of loves that character. But if you were to like rewind and look at Zosima's life early on, you would look at Dimitri, right? And I think the only reason Zosima can be a Zosima is because he was capable of being like this. He was willing to kill a man for something that he loved. And now he's thankful that he didn't, because it wasn't the right way to commit yourself. But he had a soul that was like this, that was completely willing to commit himself to something. It's a dangerous, risky thing to have a soul like that, because you can really throw yourself far, right? In search of the good, you can throw yourself really far. And so both of these people, Dimitri and Zosima, say that you must love life, right? In the chapter Cana of Galilee, when Alyosha is having that little dream hallucination insight with the wedding feast, he says, oh, Zosima here, and Zosima says, one must seek joy, one must seek love all one's life, one must love life. And then he immediately says, and Dimitri says that. And he like repeats it like 2 or 3 times. This is what Dimitri says. But he like had attributed it to Zosima, and then he's now saying, I remember Dimitri was the one that used to always say that too. Okay, so there's a similarity there. And then here you're getting this experience that he needs to be forgiven by all. Right? Why would you need to be forgiven by all? Only if you thought you had sinned against all. Only if you thought you have like harmed all. Right? And so in one sense, Dimitri in this exchange with Andre is revealing that he does think of himself as responsible to all, right? Like he needs to make amends to all, but he kind of can't do that. You can't line up the world, and so he's like, I just need one person who's capable of forgiving me on behalf of all. Is that possible? Any thoughts about whether that would be? Can you forgive? Could one person forgive the faults of everyone? The harm that everyone does? It's kind of a complex situation. It's like, this is me. And this is you. You're a good person. I'm the bad person. And right, this is the harm. And then here's another. This is your friend, and here's right, harming all these people. Okay, so here's your friend, and that's you. So I harmed both of you. I did harm to this person. Let's say I sinned against this person or whatever. Can you forgive me on their behalf? It's kind of a mysterious thing.
It's just like in my mind, I'm like, I think you can forgive for the sake of the person that did the harm.
Yeah.
But the person that like actually received the harm done to them has not been, I guess, like we paid the debt that's owed to them, but then we don't owe anyone any debt. So it's like this weird twist in there where I think he probably could, for the sake of the person's like mental stability, I guess. It's like, oh my gosh, I harmed every single person. Yeah. But in reality, it's like maybe you actually don't. Maybe you actually can't.
Yeah. there's something really. I think this would only be possible if you could make sense out of there being one person who, I'll just draw it like this, who, those are the eyes, and that's the, get it? It's like one person who can take on, who willingly accepts to be the recipient of all harm, all wrongdoing, all injustice. They become the great unjust and I remember going way back, right? Everything that is wrong, everything that is painful, all wrongdoing has been given to them through the wrong that I've done to you and the wrong that I've done to you. So really there's only one person in real reality that I've harmed. And I've harmed them through harming you, and I've harmed them through harming your friend and this and that. So it's like when you forgive someone, you're really forgiving someone on behalf of someone. I think this is what Dostoevsky's ultimately trying, this is his vision. When you forgive someone, you're forgiving on behalf of someone. And who is that person you're forgiving on behalf of? Who's ultimately offended?
The one who never offended.
Yeah, the one who never offended. Ultimately, it's going to be God. It's kind of like if you lend me 10 rubles, we'll speak Russian, Russian terms here, right? If you lend me 10 rubles, and then along comes Nick like a thief in the night and he steals it from me. Did he really steal money from me? No, he didn't steal money from me. He stole it from you because it was yours, not ultimately mine. And I think what's kind of happening here is this recognition that there's only one person that really can be the bearer, the fundamental bearer or the fundamental recipient of wrongdoing. And that's the one to whom the good is truly belongs. Right? And that one person is this was an image of the body of Christ, is what that was supposed to sort of be. Or the body of the good. Right? And so I think the idea is this person, this goes back to the Ivan stuff. Forgive all. But once you kind of recognize this, that's the relationship like this, I guess would be like that. It'd be like the member to the body. You can kind of forgive on behalf of everyone if you understand your relationship to the one whom you're most like fundamentally a part of, right? That it now becomes possible for one person to forgive everyone because it's the case that all wrongdoing is against that one person. Does that make sense? Doesn't mean you don't harm other people, but it's like when you're harming other people, the real offense of it is the harm against the good, the harm against God. It's like to possess something that's good, coffee, is to possess a resemblance of God. And the idea of having that and thinking that it's something distinct from God kind of takes it as like an isolated reality. And I think the whole point of this novel is the good and goods are not isolated realities, right? In one sense, there's a unity of the good, and therefore there's a unity of sin, of wrongdoing, and ultimately then there's a unity of forgiveness. There's a unity of the way that we'll just call it salvation or conversion, moral conversion, spiritual conversion, whatever, is brought about. Regeneration only comes through the recognition of the unity of the good and the unity of death and right. So I think this is one of the ideas of this whole novel. And so you get Dimitri kind of coming to this realization here, and then he ends that with this wonderful prayer, which I like this. I want to hear some of your thoughts if you think this is a legit prayer, or if this is too scandalous to pray. But here's what he says. Lord, take me in all my lawlessness, but do not judge me. Let me pass without your judgment. Do not judge me, for I have condemned myself. Do not judge me, for I love you, Lord. I am loathsome, but I love you. If you send me to hell, even there I will love you. And from there I will cry that I love you unto ages of ages. What do you make of that? Is that a just prayer? Is that something that you think can be prayed? Any thoughts on that? This is. I have a couple thoughts, but anyone want to comment on what they think that means? Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think like we really have nothing to offer God, like besides sadly my weakness, my transgression.
Mm-hmm.
But His plea, but do not judge me. Like as a child goes to their father when they've done something wrong, like how often you're like, but don't punish me, like I know I did something wrong. I know,
Yeah.
Like please no. I don't know. I think this prayer shows a prayer. Dimitri shows a prayer of trust.
Yeah.
In the Father's love.
Yeah. And okay, we have time. We have 6 minutes. Okay, this is so. I think that's the way that I kind of see what's happening here, and I think what Dimitri's trying to express is a judgment which was external wouldn't really be the real sort of punishment is the one that comes through the condemnation of oneself, because they can see themselves through the eyes of God. So it's like God lets us, or the good lets us, condemn ourselves, judge ourselves, so that He doesn't have to, so that we don't have to look at Him and think and rebel against Him, right? So this is, it's like in the last class I mentioned this story. I don't know if I want to mention it now. Maybe I'll mention it, but I'll pause the story or pause the recording so this doesn't go too public.